Hello, everyone, and welcome to MATHurdays. Math's so fun, we do it on Saturdays. I'm Teresa Wills. I'm glad to see so many folks here, and we've got plenty more registered, so I imagine we're going to have quite a crowd here tonight or today. Let's go ahead and jump right in. You're going to need access to the slides in order to participate today. The link is in the chat box there. And today's professional development is for really focusing on elementary fractions. So if you're a teacher of elementary, this is going to be right up your alley. If you're not, you can still definitely, stretch this to your students. But let's jump right in. On slide 2, I have some contact information. I love it when people contact me. And on slide 3 are 2 really important links. If you are looking for more problems like these, definitely check out the links on slide 3. And without further ado, let's kind of see where people are. MATHurdays has been a growing community. Some people definitely feel like their buds are here, that you have a home here. And part of that continues through successes and celebrations, which is here on slide 4 and 5. And go ahead and add a text box there, add an image if you got one, and just kind of let us know how life is going where you are. And my little contribution here, so most families do family dinner, but our family doesn't. And part of that reason why is because I work during most evenings. So we do family breakfast, and it's quite longer than most breakfasts, and we always play board games. So here we're playing Prime Climb, and it was really cute because of the way that like one kid's like, I've drawn this on a whiteboard to show this, and the other's like, oh, I'm going to use the colors in the circle. So if you're working on factors, multiples, primes, composites, or just multiplication in general, grab this game for your classroom. Gail, how's it going? And I see we've got pictures of the house getting fixed.
So the tornado that went over in June took down a huge tree on our neighbor's house. And finally this week it's getting worked on, and it's really good to see that happening.
Oh, glad to see that that's getting fixed. Who is posting that beautiful picture of a kitty cat? Pets and baby seem to always make it on our slides. If that was you, tell us, why did you post that? Is this a new addition to your family?
This is Martha in Virginia. This is my new kitty. He's a little boy and he's 5 months old. We just got him yesterday and we're still trying to think of a name. So if anybody has a great suggestion, just throw it in the chat during the meeting.
Oh, I'm sure you're going to get the suggestions. He is such a cutie. I have 2 cats. My own, definitely a cat person. Um, let's see, Lily. 2 students visited before they went off to college. How was that?
I almost cried because I taught them when they were second and fourth graders. So the day before they left for college, they visited me at the open house when I was meeting with the incoming students, and I recognized them right away. And it was just very emotional. It was very emotional.
Oh man, yes, they are emotional. That's why we're here as teachers. Absolutely. Let's see, we got some pictures coming up on slide 5. If that was you, I see we got more pets in here. How's it going? And we got someone else celebrating parent-teacher conferences, positive feedback from their parents. That is so nice to hear right now. I know schools are doing everything they can. Teachers are bending over backwards. What were some of the positive comments you got?
That was me, Lydia, and I just um, started using a lot of morning routines that you had kind of helped us figure out. And personally, in our math classes, my second graders and third graders are loving the math routines. but included in the positive comments were just, like all the teachers, we've learned so much last year on what to do right and how to make online learning for grade 1, 2, and 3 actually work for them. And so it was just really nice to hear that feedback. And they recognized what we did differently from last year. They were able to kind of say that, like this was working, this was not working, and you heard us and you'd made those changes. So it was just really good feedback.
That is so wonderful to hear. I'm glad that the routines are making an impact too. All right, folks. Well, thanks for sharing on here, and definitely feel free to keep sharing as well. It's great to see these connections, and it's also nice to feel like a family, even when things are going great or when they're not going great. So everyone's welcome here. Let's jump right into our routine. On slide 6, this is one of my favorites, but I hope what comes out today isn't that this is one of my favorite routines, that this is why we do it, but why this routine fits so beautifully before we jump into our task. So we're going to really see that connection here. So our routine has convinced me that the nice thing about this is there are tons and tons and tons of resources, pre-made problems, and more. Just follow that link on slide 6 if you want to get those. Again, these can be done in person, paper, pencil. You can have manipulatives at your table and more. Because we are online, I'm going to do it online. And what we're going to do is just grab yourself a slide, starting on 7, put your name in the yellow box. That lets people know that, like, hey, this is mine. I'd like to work on here, please. And lets everyone else keep looking down to find another. Let's see, Patty, let me get you the link to the slide deck. Here you go. And so you're going to find one, and you're just going to convince me that 3/4 is equal to 6/8. Now, the beauty in this routine is there's no way of, like, there's no, it's not like you're trying to give a right answer, and so then you might be wrong, and there's like that anxiety. No, I'm telling you the answer. 3/4 is equal to 6/8. Just convince me. So again, grab a slide. I'm going to put some music on here in a minute and continue to give you some feedback with it. There's lots of little tools on the side, but you're not required to use those. Use anything you like. Some people even just prefer text boxes, and they like to talk it out. And welcome if you're just joining us. We started on slide 6 with a convince me that routine, and each person gets their own slide below slide 6. Just put your name in one of the yellow areas, and that'll assign it for you, and you can convince me. 3/4 is equal to 6/8. I've already given you the answer. Your job is to convince me of it. At any time, if you're feeling the need for inspiration, not only are you allowed to go check out other people's slides, but it's encouraged. And when you go to someone else's slide, if you find something and you find you have a reaction to it, there's emojis on the right. You just give them one of those little emojis to let them know that, like, whoa, this just blew my mind, or like, I love this one. And that gives them a nice little confidence boost as they continue their model. All right, it looks like several people have some initial models going on. One of my favorite parts about the time that we go over this task is that some students like to keep their hands busy. They want to continue to work on their model. So you get to differentiate for yourself. You can follow along with our explanation of it, but if you're also really enjoying the manipulatives in front of you or the virtual manipulatives, you can keep working on your slide. We're going to start off our discussion here on slide 12. Raha, you have little green and purple circles. How does that convince us?
Hi, Teresa. So I made a set model. The green circle represents the 3, the numerator, and then the 4 circles altogether make the denominator. So my original fraction was 3/4. And then what I did was I doubled my set. So if you could see, like, inside is 3/4, and when I doubled it, I made it 6/8. And it's very similar to a area model, except I'm using sets to show my thinking.
Lovely. And that is one of the big things I'm going to get out here. I am looking for different models. That is my goal and my teaching goal right now. So we do have that set model. The next one I wanted to take a peek at is down on slide 20. Lara, can you tell us, your choice of model and how that convinces me? Again, slide 20.
Buenos dias. Good morning, everybody. So I live in 4th grade, and in 4th grade, we really push number lines. In kindergarten through 3rd grade, they're working with set, they're working with area. In 4th grade, we really want them to see number lines. But it's hard to see 3/4 and 6/8 on the same number line. So I wanted to build a double number line to prove to myself that within 1/8, within 1/4, there are 2/8 pieces.
Very cool. It's nice to see those fractions all laid out on that number line. Thank you so much. Another one is on slide 14. Lydia, I even like the color choice that you did here because it immediately got my mouth watering. How did you think about this on slide 14?
Doing the routines with my 3rd graders, they respond best to food. So we've been doing a lot of, like, counting in 3s and, like, ice cream scoops and things like that. So the first thing that I thought of was a chocolate bar. And I thought that maybe if I asked someone in 3rd grade, did you want 3 pieces or 6 pieces, they might obviously just go for 6, but then showing it pictorially, it might make them change their mind.
Lovely. Thanks so much for sharing. And this model has a lot of different names. Sometimes people will just call it a bar model. They'll call it a tape diagram. The idea here is that it is linear. It's a little bit on that side. It's also a little bit on the area model side. So it's kind of a mix between the two. On slide 11, we have a nice little area model. Lisa, can you explain yours and how this convinces us?
I first started with 2 circles that were the same size. I cut my left one into 4 equal pieces and my right one into 8 equal pieces. And then I shaded on the left 3 out of 4 sections and on the right 6 out of 8 to try to show the same area model that they were taking up. And I need this because I've got a 7th grade student who can't simplify fractions like 6/8. She's a sped kid and uses her calculator and it's like, So this tells me pull out my magnetic fraction circles and magnetic bars and let her explore with that some.
Absolutely. And activities like this, where you give the student, like, this is the correct answer, just show it. It really does reduce any math anxiety that they might have, especially if there's still some prior learning that they need before reaching those grade level standards. Again, there's lots of different models on here. I definitely want to bring up on slide 17, Roanna, you have both a visual and then the abstract on slide 17. And, you know, I like to promote the abstract just as much as the visuals, you know, even though it might seem that I'm a very visual person. But now we have a whole variety, and when kids can see it in multiple ways, they can make more connections and have a better understanding. Awesome. So the reason why we did all these different models is I'm hoping that you remember those different models in our math task. And so you can head on down to slide 34. We're going to jump right into our rich task. You're going to see today a focus on a very specific objective, but everything's going to be done through problem solving, representations, discourse, questions, and most of all, conceptual understanding. And before we start, I'd like to give everyone the opportunity to take the problem solving oath. It's on slide 35. And I'll read it out loud. If you want to take this oath today, just pop your name down in the chat box. You can publicly say, yes, I'm going to take this oath. I, insert your name, promise to try my best. I will make sense of patterns and numbers. I will use manipulatives and drawings. I will make mistakes. I will ask questions. I will listen to other ideas. I will stay engaged by always trying to find another solution or representation. I am a problem solver. I make the world a better place. Again, if you want to publicly say, yes, I'm a problem solver, put your name in the chat box. I see we have tons of problem solvers already. Wonderful. And our task is on slide 36. You all might know that I live really close to Washington, D.C. I am a quick, like 15 minutes to get to some of these landmarks that are on slide 36. So this is a really real situation for us. We frequently have students go to DC, well, maybe not in the last year and a half, but and in this situation, 8 students took a trip to DC, but they only packed 6 sandwiches for lunch. At the Washington Monument, 5 students shared 4 sandwiches. At the White House, 3 students shared 2 sandwiches. The big questions here is who got more food, the least, how do you know, and explain your reasoning. I have put on slide 37 some other places where you could go to get more representations. Spoiler alert, since you all are teachers, I really want to bring up the different models. So we have an area model, a linear model, bar model, ratio model, and set model. But you're not limited to these, so please use anything you like. And once you're in breakout rooms, the task is on the left. Oh, no, it's not. I need to update the task. I will get that updated in just a second. And then you can go ahead and jump right into it. So let's go ahead and create those breakout rooms. Alrighty, here we go. You should have just gotten an invite to go to a breakout room. And if you need any help getting into your breakout rooms, just let me know. I'll help you out with that. Joyce and Patty. Oh, Joyce, if you need any help, just let me know, and I'll get you moved into your breakout room. Hello, Shruti. Let me know if you can hear me.
Hello, Teresa. Hi.
Hi, how are you? So we have just went to breakout room, so you didn't miss a beat at all. I just want to make sure that you know what we're doing and what you'll do once you're in that breakout group.
Okay, sure. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was a little late. I'm so sorry.
It is no problem at all. All right, in the chat box, you probably already got this because that's how you got here today, is the link to
Yeah.
our slides. And we just described the task, which is on slide 24. So do you see the one with the monuments and the school bus? And then you're going to be in a breakout room looking for different ways to model who gets more. And that's essentially it.
Okay, got it. So we are on the slide 24.
24 has a task. I'm going to pop you into group 4, and they are going to put all their work on slide 29.
Okay, sure. Thank you so
Yes,
much.
glad you're here.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Okay, so
All right, so you should have just gotten an invite to go to a breakout room number 4. Let me know.
so Miss Teresa, the thing is, one thing I wanted to ask, like, my daughter, like, she is going to be on second grade. So will it be, because I was just looking at the slides before this Zoom link. So I thought that it might be a little tough for her for this grade because she's just learning fractions. So what do you think? I mean, it will be easy. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I just was glancing the slides and I just thought that, is it appropriate for the second grade or it is for the higher grades?
So this one is more aimed for teachers who teach like third, fourth grade. We're going to be doing some unit fractions. And so a lot with our tasks, so we'll talk with the other teachers when we come back, but a lot of our tasks stretch to multiple grade levels. So even though this one is really kind of aimed for that third and fourth grade, one of the main ideas here is they're going to be comparing two unit fractions by looking at the other side of it. And we would expect like a second grader to be able to say that 1/4 is smaller than 1/2. And so in this problem here, they're going to be doing similar things with it. So again, it's professional development for teachers. So we always talk in terms of like with a teacher hat on, how teachers would expect to do it. But definitely if you're working with a second grader, it would be appropriate.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to know.
Sure
Yeah,
thing.
thank you. Tap to join this breakout room.
Five sandwiches over 4 kids. No, a 5 sandwich to 4 kid ratio, or I could flip that upside down. And then a 3 sandwich to 2 kid ratio. And I went ahead and did common numerators at first.
Okay.
See that we have,
Oh yeah, that could work. I just did cross multiplication, like,
Second-
I did
yeah.
percentage, so.
and then that would get us, oh my gosh, 15 to 12 versus 15 to 10. I don't know, but we can just flip that whole thing upside
Here, I'll
down.
put that on there.
I
so
want to
we
get
can-
a model drawn that I can.
I'll put it
see.
into, it would be what, 12 to 15 if we
So
did
we want-
equivalent fractions. But I like the picture
Where are we?
for
No, I
the
don't want
younger
that.
kids for
I
sure.
want- Come on.
And I have a lot of kids who actually don't understand fractions very well, so they need pictures too.
No.
They
Oh,
need,
they
yeah, they
don't.
need,
They
I think
really
it's always
don't.
good to balance with having a visual
Yeah.
as well.
Also, I think I'm going to add a little text saying that assuming all the sandwiches are the same size, right? Because
Correct,
if it
yeah.
changes,
Oh,
then
yes.
it's a complete different story. So,
Yes, there.
Hang on, I'm drawing this wrong.
I probably should have used something else than trying to draw this myself.
Hard, isn't it, Rhoda?
Yes. Oh, this is not moving my line to where I had it. I'll just move the cursor. I could figure it out. Let me just get the lines there, and then I'll spread them apart equally. Or
I think I've got this.
Hi, I'm back. Sorry.
Hi. We're working on 2 different slides.
Oh, okay.
We've got Rhoda drawing rectangles on 27, and I tried using Polypad
Oh, nice.
28. So what I'm trying to do on 28 is show if you cut each sandwich into fifths, for example, how much each student gets. So they can each get, oops, and then I'm going to duplicate this and rotate for the last 4 pieces.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense.
I mean, that's only one way to do it, but I think. Check.
Hi, Tiffany. Welcome.
Hey, sorry. I was doing my own PD for my district. Up until this, I was hoping I could come in
Of
late.
course.
Thanks.
Of course. What grade or grade levels do you typically teach?
I am an instructional coach in my building, K-5, elementary.
Awesome. Well, glad to have you here. Let me just kind of catch you up to where we are so you can jump right into a group seamlessly.
I'm sorry. Thank you.
It's okay. Do you have the slide deck already? Is that how you got in here?
I do. I have that open.
Great. Come on down to slide 24.
Okay.
And this is our task. Essentially, 5 kids are at one monument and they're sharing 4 sandwiches. 3 students are at another one. They're sharing 2. We want to know who gets the most. And the main goal of today is to showcase a lot of different models. And so the groups are working on it now. They've only been working on it for about 6 minutes. We got about another 10 to go. On slide 25, I've put some of my favorite virtual manipulatives for area, linear, bar, ratio, and set model.
Cool.
but you're not limited to those. You can use any things you like. And the slides below are the different groups, like jumping right into it and just kind of solving it whatever way they want. And then we'll have a discussion about it.
I see that. Okay.
So I'm going to put you
Thank you.
into group 3. You'll get an invite here in just 2 seconds. Alrighty, you can head on in at any time.
Thank you.
Yep.
Now, all I've got is, let me see, new. Oh, is that her?
You want to show it in the number line?
Sure.
Can we, one sec.
All the 1/5 and 1/5, 1/5, 1/5 put together creates 4/5, and I just wanted to add that visual.
This is a great visual. I love this.
Yeah, I had never, and I think that's like going back to like the idea of like that rectangle, and that's what they feel comfortable with, so that for them to see.
And then I made sure that the tables or the size of the sandwiches absolutely match from edge to edge, because that's what my students have a hard time doing. So inserting tables, I find it so easy to just duplicate, the little trick that Teresa taught us at the very beginning of the demo.
And that's exactly why I think of using grid paper.
I love grid paper. Everywhere I go to take math PDs, my notebooks are grid paper.
This is a terrible picture, but I'm gonna see if. And of course, then I did my sandwiches equal size, but my horizontal lines that cut into sections are not too pretty.
No worries. It doesn't have, like I tell the kids, it's not art class.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
You know why I decided to have all these tables? It reminds me of the mango problem that Teresa may have done earlier, like way, 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 way before. Do you remember that? So a unit changes, like, after so many series of people took one mango out of 1/5.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And
I was
then-
thinking first of the M&M one that she did with fractions, but yes. Yes, where
So
the
then-
unit is, yeah.
The unit, and then the leftover was like the 3 mangoes left over or something. Then you have to backtrack to see what, the total mangoes that they started off with. That problem was just made huge impact on me. So that then I wanted to show by using inserting the table feature, so that the one unit for, what one whole means is exactly the same. So it's clear.
So when you made your table, did you just make like the A, B, C, D, E, you made it like a 1 by 5 and then just copied it?
Yes, so go
Okay.
to table and then, make, I think it shows like 5 by 1, I think. So that
Yeah.
if I wanted to have 5 equal parts, then create one and I duplicate it. So I know exactly it's the same size and I just have
Yeah.
to align it. And the center line pops up every time you try to align two tables, one over on top of the other. And
Okay.
I just can't have enough of that little, the feature
Mm-hmm.
that Teresa taught us in the lesson.
No, that's a
And
great idea.
yeah, I just love it.
Welcome back to the main room, everyone. I could tell you all were engaged by just how many people were still in those breakout rooms, even when they started to close. These are some really cool representations here, folks. So remember, teacher hat on for just a minute. One of the major things that I want to bring to my students is that we can represent fractions in a variety of ways. Area, linear, bar, ratio, and set model just being 5 of the ways. And so at this point, I'm going to bring us together for a discussion. And when I do discussions, I use the 5 practices from Smith and Stein. I've got a little slide on 35 if you want to kind of see the steps that I'm doing. And I've anticipated so many different directions that this discussion could go on. But I've selected a couple here to guide our questions, realizing that the focus of this is really getting to elementary fractions and their understanding. So without further ado, come on down to slide 36. We're all going to be here together. And for ease of describing them, I've outlined them in a color, so we can call it the orange model, yellow model, green model, and purple model. But the first thing I'd like to ask is, looking at these models, it's really trying to understand like what the model is saying. And so I just wanted to start us off. If you were the person who created that orange model there, would you just let us know like how much of the sandwiches does that first kiddo get? Like what's happening here?
Hi, Teresa. So I attacked this problem just like the 4th graders would, where they would have to visually prove to themselves like what those 4 sandwiches looks like. Usually like I'd have 4th graders draw like little stick figure people, and then they'd start drawing arrows. And in the confusion of arrows, they would realize that each person is getting 1/5 of that sandwich, of each of the 4 sandwiches. So in total, they would get 4/5.
Cool. So, you know what, Laura, you were the first one to do this. So it looks like you have a little guy there first. Do you want to give him a name for context? What do you want to name that kiddo?
We can call him Jose.
And so he gets a fifth, and you said enough to get 4/5.
Correct.
Cool.
He would eventually, like, they would draw the arrows to figure out that they're getting 1/5 of each sandwich.
Awesome. And so then we're going to go over to the other monument in yellow. We have another model happening here. And I'd love for you to explain your model, but then let us know, like, the first kiddo, like if Jose was here, how much would he get? Yeah, who did the yellow model?
Hi, Teresa, it's Raha. So my thinking was very similar in terms of the yellow model. What I did was I started counting how many pieces a person would get equally. So I started counting like, oh, this is going to be 1, 2. And then at the end, I had 1, 2 in green. And then I said, oh, in between I have 2 pieces as well. So the 3 people will get 2/3 of a sandwich. I know that's a little confusing, but I think that's what I was trying to do.
So,
kind of.
Actually, this is beautiful. I'd love to know why you have in the first sandwich 2 oranges and a yellow, and in the second sandwich a yellow and 2 greens.
So I'm gonna quickly draw on it if that's okay. So I basically said, okay, I have this sandwich that would feed the first person. So let's say Jose. So Jose would have this, but Jose can also have this because there seems to be a lot of pieces left. Then I said, okay, I want to try the next one. So I took, let's say Ibrahim. Ibrahim will have these. And then I was left with the in-between pieces. I was kind of thinking like a 4th grader. And then I was like, oh, in between, I also have 2 pieces. And that since there are 3 kids, they can equally share. So it's going from Laura's 1 at a time, but consolidating to like counting off by 2s. If that makes sense.
Yeah. So, and what's really neat here is, Raha, if you are getting the yellow, I'm going to put yours in here. You're getting potentially different stuff than Jose.
Oh, that's true. I didn't think about having two different sandwiches. I thought about having the same sandwiches. We're just cutting into equal pieces.
Ah, so now we can add another element to this if we choose. And Laura's orange model, if one of them is peanut butter jelly, if another one is peanut butter banana, if another one is that peanut butter fluff one, like no matter what they are, you get a sample of each of them. Whereas Raha's kind of got this, I get 2/3 of one sandwich and I'm covered. So I wonder, which would you prefer? Go ahead and put in the chat box. Would you prefer to be on the orange side or the yellow side? Would you prefer to sample all of them or the yellow side, like get a big old slice? Wow, overwhelmingly we like the samples. All right, so with that in mind, let's go to our green one. If that was you, if you use the manipulatives here to make this model, what does the red mean and what does the green mean?
All right, so that was mine. So the red represents the 2/3, which is where the 3 students were sharing the 2 sandwiches. And the green is representing the 5 students who share 4 sandwiches. And I was thinking about it as in trying to make all the pieces the exact same size, only because it's like kids, when they look at things, I wanted them to visually say, okay, we all have the same size piece. So now let's say you get one, and you get one, so that they don't think that, one piece is larger than the next, common misconception. So wanted to make them all have the same size piece or the same denominator and then compare them. So each bar model has 15 pieces. So then it'll be 10 15ths that they would get for each student, and then 12 15ths on the bottom for the other other 4 students.
Lovely and great explanation there. And so now we have this other one. So you could prefer the orange, which we'll call samples, the yellow, big slice, and now the green one here, where we can compare with the 2 monuments. Like I can clearly see how much I get in relationship to the other places. So the last one I have here is this purple one. I want you to look at that for a minute and decide the purple one is most like what other color? Put that color in the chat with a little explanation. The purple one is like yellow because, the purple's like orange because, or the purple's like green because. All right, so we have some different thinking in here. Alrighty. Let's start off with Kathy. You said it was like the yellow one. Can you tell us what comparison you see to the yellow?
Well, I thought it was different than the orange because it's not all these individual fifths. They look, now, I'm going to tell you, I drew the purple one. So what I was thinking is not slicing it into fifths, but actually marking it in fifths and then slicing it as a chunk of 4/5 at a time, because slicing's a lot of work. And so when I look at the one with the 10, like the other one, I'm thinking the kids are going to be slicing forever and we're going to have real problems here. So what I was thinking in the purple that's similar to the yellow is that you're looking and you're chunking and you're doing the fewest number of slices, I guess, but that may not be true in the yellow one. But they're together. So I was thinking that the two orange pieces for Jose end up being like a chunk rather than two individual pieces. And then you got the green person, which is a chunk, and then the two yellow would be the sample. And I actually assumed all the sandwiches are the same flavor, so I didn't even go there. So I love that, because who do you want to be in the purple example?
I love that you have this idea of there's markings on it. And those markings are giving other people a lot of connections here. And I can see that in there. Where was it? Somebody else wrote, you're sharing equally. And that's exactly what this is showcasing here. The reason I had you put in, is it like orange, yellow, or green, is because when you answer that question, almost every time students are correct. They just get to think uniquely. It'll help you with your discussion, but also it'll help them build their confidence in math and their math identity, so giving them that opportunity. All right, the other representation I want to take a peek at is on slide 37. So come on down here. This comes from two different groups, I think. We have a number line model and we have a table. And I copied the table before it was finished on purpose, so I know that this group actually did more work. If you were the one who did the visual, the number lines, can you tell us, like, what does this show us, and also like the affordances of the technology and being able to stretch those? How did that work out?
So that was as group 4, but I'm not sure who added the number line, so I'm going to let them share their thoughts. But I started off with the table because it just helps me figure out. I'm a very linear thinker that way, so it helps me figure out what fraction went for each student, and how do I figure out whether it's more or less. But the number line, actually the completed version, shows like dotted lines in 2 different colors and how much of the sandwich each student would have gotten. And so I'm not sure who did that one.
Well, definitely thank you for sharing that, because one of the neat things about doing it online is the ability to do this. I can stretch these things and make it so that tick marks line up. I can make it so that the whole lines up. And that's really a nice use of the technology there. In this chart, though, they have gone from 4/5 and 2/3 to making equivalent fractions to 15ths. And I think that's what Monique said earlier. So I'm curious about the type of number line that might be resulted in this. And I found a different group that had one. So if you were part of the group that made this one, I think you maybe used Mathagon. Could you tell us about how you created this representation and maybe how it relates to the other two?
So that had what each student got. Either they got 2/3 or they got 4/5. And I split it up into 15ths to show how much each student got and be able to compare those as far as 15ths go. The student that got 2/3 got a total of, and you have to kind of count them there, 10 15ths. And the student who got 2/3 of a sandwich, well, other one, 4/5 of a sandwich, got 12/15.
Awesome. It's really cool to see the way that these representations can kind of merge in from one another. And, when we can see that this 12/15 is down here, we're able to make those connections. And that's what our students need too. There were two others that, had I had the time, I'd love to go into them more. On slide 38, we can really see all of the kids and the amount that they get. And I like that one was a little bit emerged. No one gets stuck with the little end bit. Student 2 still gets a good chunk of the sandwich, but they get a little end bit. And on slide 39, the unique thing about this is, I'm going to try and get the history for you. There's a lovely video that shows how divisibility was initially thought of in Middle Eastern countries a long time ago, before we had the more Eurocentric formula for it. And so I've got a great video. I just need to find it. And this one uses the technique that they use. So on slide 39, if that was you, could you just tell us, like, if you had infinite time, what would this continue to evolve? What was your strategy here?
I would just go on dividing it further on to see what would it be, but I would try to figure it out how to get 1/20 of the piece, the smaller piece that remains. Like, I know I'm given half to everyone, then I'm given a quarter. Then the remaining quarter that is there, how would I divide it further was something I would try figuring it out. Because I know numerically I know it is 1/20, but from a child's point of view, how would they get 1/20 is something that I would try doing. And similar way, I would try dividing the 6/8, then 6, 7, 8, the remaining 3 children with 2 sandwiches, and compare and see who got more.
This is lovely, and it's exactly the routine that was done across the world early in mathematics too. Well, folks, that's the top of our hour. There was one other representation that I thought I was going to see today that I did not see. So since you all are teachers, I'll make it obvious here. I was wondering if anyone would look at the negative space in terms of the fractions, because comparing 1/3 to 1/5 is just a different way of looking at it. Instead of looking at 2/3 and 4/5, you could look at that negative space, the 1/3 versus 1/5. And oftentimes in the more primary grades, when they're first starting off with fractions, looking at those unit fractions is something that students are a little bit more comfortable with. And so that would be another way of looking at it, is comparing like the amount that you don't get. All right, folks. If you would like to see other things in MATHurdays, I am going to start creating the October schedule. Put your thoughts down on slide 43. I know we have one for primes and composites that people wanted. That's coming up in October. But otherwise, I'll stay tuned for questions. But have a happy Saturday. Thanks for joining me, and thanks for doing some math with us.
Hi, Teresa. How's our fellow third grader doing?
Oh, fantastic. Loving being back in school and seeing people and getting to draw and more.
Oh, that's awesome. So I have a question for you. I've always struggled with this, and then we just kind of move on very quickly, and then start like computation and fractions, which I'm very comfortable with. But like with place value, like I feel like it becomes a lot more explicit instruction instead of like task oriented. I don't know if you have any like tips on place value, because now that I'm teaching third grade, I'm realizing I can do so much more, but I don't know where to start. I don't know if that makes sense, like in terms of visually.
Yeah. So there are some tasks. Let me see what I can get here. But what is So you teach place value. Do you also teach rounding, and do you teach them together?
Yes. Technically we should be, but my team is very hell-bent on teaching the roller coaster where you round up and down. So I told them I don't teach that way and it's not going to happen that way. I use a hundreds chart with rounding where it's, if I'm rounding to the tens, we look at where the number is in the hundreds chart and then we decide which decade is it closest to. But I mean, I want to do it that way. It's just I'm not getting the same vibes from my team, so that's why I'm reaching out to you.
Yeah, so one thing that I've gotten, and this comes out of the M Cubed Kendall Hunt resources, there's a great activity where students will create a trip. And so the idea of a trip is that you need to find something that is less than 10 miles away. You need to pick something else that's less than 100 miles away, another thing that's less than 1,000 miles away. And so you start to create these different things. And then you can even create charts where if you rounded everything to the nearest tens place, how close is a 7-Eleven from your house? Well, it might be 0 miles. How close is Disney World? Well, it might be, closer to 900 miles. And then if you round everything to the thousands place, for example, you're going to realize that like the distance to 7-Eleven and the distance to grandma's are both rounding to 0. And that doesn't make any sense. And so it really gets kids talking about place value in context to their trip. And this is more of a bigger project. I'd have to see if there'd be a way to kind of bring it down into a task for MATHurdays. But that's what comes to mind first is when it's condensed in with rounding, they start to just use the terminology more because it's purposeful.
I love that. And you said it's part of the M Cubed unit?
Yes, it is. I think it's in the one with like really big numbers or something like that. But it's one of the activities that they do. And I had my kiddo do it last year just for fun because we were going to be going to Florida. And then another thing you can do is create class lists. And so if you have like a timer, you could do how long does it take for you to run this amount, and we can time everybody. And then there's these fun class lists. They don't all have to be athletic. You could do how fast can you say the alphabet, or how fast can you count to 1,000 in any language you like. So there's like lots of fun things you can do. And then when you have these lists, you can round them all to the nearest second, the nearest minute. And so when you start to see that, when we round, we get too many ties for who gets first place. It gives them kind of a reason to care about it and to care about the place value.
That makes sense. Oh, that's a great idea. Because right now transitions are hard. So that might be a good way to also do transitions. I love that. Thank you so much, Teresa.
Raha, I was just thinking I like the idea of combining the rounding with place value. But if ever, I don't know your curriculum, but if you're doing anything on rounding, you can tell people, your students, that in Canada, we don't have pennies. So we round to the nearest 5 cents. And that's a real situation if they end up traveling here. So if you are using your credit card or your Instabank card, you pay exactly what the bill is, right? $1.99. But if you are paying cash, it has to be $1.95 or $2. And you're going to pay the $2. So that is a real live situation with rounding.
I love that.
That maybe would make sense. You can Google it. It for me as a math teacher and a math consultant, it's really hard because we want pennies. So a lot of teachers have hung on to their pennies and they pull them out even though the kids don't see them anymore here. So it's really odd for us when we go to the States and all of us, what are these brown things? Because we forget, because we just get used to them, right? It's like, we got pennies again. And so that might be something, if you're not tying it to place value, that would be helpful.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Kathy and Teresa. This is exactly why I can't miss a Saturday.
Hey, Teresa, can I ask a technical question, like on the Zoom
Yeah.
side, not on the
Go
math
for
side
it.
of things? So our district switched to Zoom, as I'm sure you know. And I got very used to BBCU, like being able to project slides and then to be able to see the chat at the same time. In our school, we had to do back to school night virtually on Zoom. And I hadn't practiced a lot, and it was very jarring for me not to be able to see the chat at the same time. And I was playing around, and Raha, we were chatting about it. When you are hosting a Zoom session, are you able to see the chat at the same time as the screen you're projecting, or do you just use a second monitor?
So with Zoom, I've been using a second monitor.
Okay.
There